modeling those for you. And we are going to be doing some practice. You have an SAQ tomorrow, a short answer question tomorrow, which is a quiz. So make sure you are all in and engaged in today's class, so that way we can make sure we are as successful as possible on tomorrow's quiz. We are now going to transition into the do now, which is in the Nearpod. You are going to have 2.5 minutes to answer question number 1 and 2.5 minutes to answer question number 2. I'm going to start the activity in the Nearpod. Make sure you take a full 2.5 minutes to thoroughly answer your question. 2.5 minutes on the clock. Go ahead and get started. It should be coming to you live now. Okay, you have 1 more minute on question 1. Thank you, sir. I have yours. Thank you, Tisa. I have yours. Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you, Takia. Thank you, Jalasia. Go ahead and submit your responses. You have 5 more seconds just to click submit. Great, Jalasia, I'm going to be sharing your response on the screen. Can you please read it aloud for us?
Okay, I said, hold on. One unique factor that the Southern colonies, what a unique fact about the Southern colonies was that they relied heavily on slavery due to them having very good soil and being able to grow cash crops that needed to have more attention from a lot of people or they would fail.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jalasia. That is definitely the most unique thing about the Southern colonies. We are now going to transition to question 2 in today's Do Now. It is going to be on your screen, ready to go in 3, 2, 1. 2.5 minutes. 20 more seconds, go ahead and start submitting. Three, two, one. Great. Giovanni, I am going to be projecting your answer onto the screen. Can you please unmute and read aloud what you wrote?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
One unique factor about the middle colonies is that they were religiously diverse more than the other colonies.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Great job on today's do now. I'm going to be trying to include more do nows via Nearpod, so that way I can track your guys' answers more effectively. But we are going to transition to today's oral drill. You will have 3 minutes to complete as usual. 3 minutes on the clock for your fill in the blank. Go ahead and get started. Two more minutes. Great, thank you, Shakeem. I have yours. Thank you, Kamaya. Thank you, Skyanne. Thank you, Jalasia. 1 more minute. Thank you, Arabia. Thank you, Ciara. Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you, Alexis. Thank you, Takia. Thank you, Soraya. Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, Leah. 30 more seconds to go ahead and finish up. Ten more seconds, go ahead and finish up. And time is up. Great job today. Unfortunately, because of God, glory, and gold, you have to put those in the exact right order for those to be counted as right. So I think that's why we have a lot of 10 out of 12s. So good job on that, and working really hard on your oral drill today. So we are not going to direct our attention to Zoom quite yet. Probably the biggest predictor of success on the AP exam, as well as success in your college level writing courses, is your ability to explain and analyze evidence to support your argument. This is something you'll need to do on both essays, but also in your short answer questions. The students who are able to master this skill are the ones who earned 3s, 4s, and 5s on the APUSH exam last year. Today, we're going to focus specifically on short answer questions. And as you may know from AP World History last year, these are all or none questions that can have a huge effect on your overall score. You either get a full point or you get 0 points. The good news is that in the past, we've outperformed the rest of the country on short answer questions, and they have become one of the strongest aspects of every AP exam for many students. Today, we're going to review the strategy that got us there and do some practice as well. It's important that we don't leave anything to chance on May 6th when you take the exam. So I'm going to ask you guys to now direct your attention to the Zoom screen and maximize that so you can see while I share my screen for my Think Aloud. Okay. All of us should have our class packet up for to be able to take notes. You have a spot in your class packet for these notes, as well as you can also take them on a paper copy. I ask that you do not take your notes on Nearpod today, because you are going to want to have these notes in these steps available for when you complete the rest of today's lesson and your exit ticket. So I do ask that you take your notes either in your class packet or on regular paper. Give you guys 30 more seconds to get yourself set up. Great. And as a heads up, I am known to not have the best handwriting. So if you need me to clarify what I am writing, please let me know and I will do my best to fix that. So today we're going to continue to review periods 1 and 2, which you are going to have a quiz on tomorrow. Yesterday we reviewed the key content that you will need for the AP exam, and today we are going to practice live and real-time short answer questions to see how well you can put your knowledge to the components and of the components to the test. Let's begin by reviewing a few items about short answer questions. There are, I'm gonna add a page to this. Okay, great. Just making sure that it's getting projected. There are 3, that is an eraser. There are 3 types of short answer questions. 1, there is no stimulus. You are simply going to be asked to use your prior knowledge to answer the question. So it's literally just a straight up question like you had in your Do Now. What is the difference between the Southern and Middle colonies? The second type is primary sources. These can either be text or images, and you'll be asked to read and analyze the source to be able to answer the question. And the third type are secondary sources. These are typically 2 historians describing an event, and you will have to compare their views. On the full exam, you are going to have 40 minutes to answer 3 short answer questions, which means you're going to have about 13 minutes per question. Your response has to follow 4 main criteria. 1, it should have complete sentences. So it is not enough to say slavery is why the Southern colonies are different. You need to explain why slavery is different, makes Southern colonies different. You need to have specific historical evidence. Also known as like key terms, which is what your homework is on. You need to explain what the key term is. And finally, you need to explain how the key term helps you answer the question. I am going to model for you I'm going to model this for you using a released short answer questions from a previous AP exam. As I model, you should capture the questions I ask myself and the steps I take in constructing my response. When I finish, I will share those steps and we will capture them so we can use them in our practice. So to go back to what is in the class packet, the first thing I need to do is read the question, and I'm going to focus on part A. I apologize if this is a little small. So for part A, I need to briefly explain one example of how contact between Native Americans and Europeans brought changes to Native American societies in the period of 1492 to 1700. Once I'm done reading, I want to annotate the question to help me identify what it's asking. I should underline key content words. So I want to underline Native Americans, Europeans, and changes. And then I want to box the scope, which is going to be 1492 to 1700. Now that I know what it's asking me, I'm going to brainstorm prior knowledge related to the key terms and scope I just underlined. Since I'm modeling for you, I'm going to just brainstorm one thing, but you should quickly jot down 3 to 4 key terms for your own brainstorm. So when I'm thinking about interaction between Native Americans and Europeans, one thing that I thought of was intermarriage. That is definitely one thing that changed Native American societies. Now I need to write my response. This should be 2 to 3 complete sentences that name drops a key term and explains how and why. Again, it's not enough for me to simply name drop intermarriage. I have to explain how and why it brought changes to Native Americans. So my response is going to sound like this. One example of contact that brought change to Native Americans was intermarriage. I'm going to underline intermarriage since that is my key term. Was intermarriage with the Spanish and the French. some of these intermarriages produced racially mixed populations, which then led to new social hierarchies and caste systems. Which favored people of European descent. Take a moment to jot down and brainstorm the different steps that I took to coming up with this response. So there are 4 major steps that I take. The first is I annotated the question. The second is I brainstormed my knowledge. The next is I wrote 2 to 3 complete sentences. And this is something I definitely want to push, is it is never a bad thing to overly explain in a short answer question. So even if you think you have properly identified the answer to the question, one sentence, add a second, it will make things better. And finally, the last step is explain the how and the why. And what this means is you need to explain how and why this key term answers your question. I'll give you guys 30 seconds to finish jotting down your notes, and then I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And again, if you did not catch everything, the video will be posted and you'll be able to find these notes in the video. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Great, thank you guys so much for engaging with those notes. And now we are going to be transitioning into back to the Nearpod. So please redirect your attention back to the Nearpod. And now you are going to try this for yourself. You are going to answer part B to the question that I just modeled part A for. You are going to have 4 minutes to answer this question. In those 4 minutes, I want you to draft your response. You are going to draft your response in the first 2 minutes and then click submit, and then continue to revise your response for the last 2 minutes. So again, we are drafting our response for 2 minutes, hitting submit, and then we are going to be revising our response for another 2 minutes. So on the Nearpod, you should now see your you do. Again, you are going to have 2 minutes, and then I want you to click submit. 2 minutes on the clock to start drafting your response. Go ahead and get started. Please click submit and send whatever you have so I can review. You are now going to have an additional 2 minutes to revise your response. So again, submit whatever you have and take another 2 minutes to revise your response. 2 more minutes on the exam. Great responses, everybody. I love the use of key terms. Still waiting on about half of our drafts. If you can please submit those. And you have 1 more minute to continue revising. Ten more seconds, please go ahead and re-respond. Send in your new responses. Great, thank you. Go ahead and send in your new responses or your revised responses. Beautiful. I am going to share Skyanne's response. Skyanne, can you please read aloud your response to part B?
I said the contact between Native Americans and Europeans also brought a change, which was known as the encomienda. The encomienda system forced Native Americans to work on plantations to cultivate cash crops, and with this system, Europeans greatly benefited.
Great, thank you very much, Skyanne. Via the Zoom chat, in the Zoom chat, please chat out what did Skyanne do that made her response successful. Let's take 30 seconds to highlight what Skyanne did that made her response successful. Great, thank you, Ciara. Thank you, Jalasia. Thank you, Alexis. Alexis, can you resend your response but to everybody? And Kamaya, can you do the same thing? Just copy and paste the response so it goes to everyone. Thank you guys, beautiful responses. And I'm seeing a theme that we are looking at how she found her key term, encomienda, and then built and said the how and the why of that key term and how that helps answer her question. We are now going to do a group think in the collaboration board on Nearpod for part C. So part C is asking us to answer, briefly explain one example of how Native American societies resisted change brought by contact with Europeans. And I can't read the rest of it because it's getting covered up. So we are going to take 2 minutes to collab together on what key terms we could use to answer this question. So again, in the collaboration board, what key terms could we use to answer this question? 2 minutes on the clock, go ahead and get started. 40 more seconds to share out your key terms. Fifteen more seconds. Great responses, everybody. Now, because we are running out of, so I see a theme of the Pueblo Revolt, which is a really great key term for this question. We are going to transition into our exit ticket because we're running out of time. So great job on brainstorming. To clarify, to answer part C of this question, you follow the exact same 4 steps, even though asking a different question. So even though it's a completely different question, you still follow those 4 steps. We're now going to transition into today's exit ticket, which is a Google form in Google Classroom. Thank you guys so much for engaging actively with the Nearpod, and I look forward to seeing your responses in today's exit ticket. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or send them via chat, and I will be monitoring the exit ticket. Once you submit your exit ticket, you'll be free to go. Make sure that each response is at least 2 to 3 sentences. Go ahead and transition to your exit ticket and get started. As a reminder, each response should be 2 to 3 sentences. Again, as a reminder, each response in the short answer question should be 2 to 3 sentences. Should it take another 4 more minutes to finish? Okay, I'm going to ask that we pause very quickly. As a reminder, your homework is due tonight at 8 o'clock. I have 7 responses. Thank you guys that have turned in your homework already. So please or 8 responses. Please make sure that you submit your homework by 8 o'clock tonight. If you do not, you are required to come to my office hours tomorrow. So make sure you submit your homework. And as a reminder, there is a quiz tomorrow morning. Make sure that you are doing your homework and prepping for the quiz. That your homework is going to help you a lot with that. So go ahead and head back to your exit tickets, and I will let you know when you can leave. Tisa and Giovanni, you may go. Shaquem and Caleb, you may go.